fairly clear. Genocide, as I said, even one day is too many, but it's not just about removal of one's life or killing, physical killing of a person. It's about eradicating his or her identity as well as a group. That probably for those who are familiar with Ethiopian history, I wouldn't be surprised all of us who have gone through that. Exactly how we have been eradicated, our culture has been eradicated, our language has been eradicated, our physical being has been eradicated
from this region.
Not just about eradication, but
Ramadan yaalii kanaan warri isaanirra hidhata baay'ee qaban yaalanii fashale. Qaamni ani Oromoodha. Qaamni ani qaama araaraatti abaa'ullee araaraan akka biyyaatti galgoon. Qaamni asiin dura abaa'uun qabsoo hidhannoo yeroo geggeessu odeessaa Laggasaa Wagii fa'aafillee laadhe tokko har'a gadi bahee biyya ollaa dhaqee otoo abaa'uun Finfinnee keessa jiru.
I think it's an excellent food for thought for all of us. It is not the kind of genocide conference that I attended, seemingly organized by an individual who called himself a professor of Columbia University. Started the entire history of genocide in Ethiopia from 2019, never referred to anything that has happened about genocide in Ethiopia prior to that, even though this is a country that is claiming thousands of years of history. And then went on barraging Oromo, the youngsters in Ethiopia, as ethno-Islamist extremists terrorizing non-Oromos. The Oromo mass media as inciting genocide in Ethiopia. Could you imagine, based on what you just defined, a mass media inciting genocide? How would that be possible in a country that has a government? So anyway, let me not go that far, but I'm extremely grateful, and I think you've given us a great food for thought. With that, we are going to open the floor for Q&A. We have about 15 solid minutes. Thank you for the time you saved us. The floor is open. It would be great if you can stop the screen share.
Yeah.
Unless the audience needs it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any question, any comment from our audience? You are welcome at this time. We'll be monitoring. You may raise your hands in the system.
Yes. There is one hand raised.
Okay, I see two. Mr. or Mrs. Brooker.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I want to ask a question. My name is Aman Kadir from Norway. I wonder if you just invited some of the human rights stakeholders, actors, like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, because I see some elements of deformation and deletion in Genocide Watch. Especially, I observe sometimes impartiality and partisanship. So I think to ignite the debate, there is a difference between how Amnesty International see things and how Human Rights Watch and Genocide Watch. So especially Genocide Watch uses words like, negatively charged political words like extremists, like terrorists. But Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, they never use these kind of negatively charged concepts. So to clear, I think it is better if my question is, have you invited them to this very interesting convention or conference? Thank you.
I think this question is directed to the organizers. I will give the floor to Mr. Jamal and Mr. Zalalam if they are in the house. They will explain more, but I can tell you to the best of my knowledge, we did send to most of the human rights organizations. Just to make a past comment on the deliberate distortion. I mentioned earlier on the massive campaign that uses selected terminologies that the government of Ethiopia is using in Ethiopia to attack Oromo nationals and Oromo politicians. Exactly the same buzzwords are used by Amhara intellectuals and their supporters. There are certain constituencies, religious constituencies, group constituencies who are very much into this state of mind of the religion, one religion against another religion community and posturing and positioning. So in their mind, they think we are anti-Christian. Therefore, any complaint that comes out of Ethiopia about this genocidal Oromo Islamists is appropriate, that need to be disseminated and distributed. We have seen a single release from one person claim to have collected his data from Ethiopia, one human rights person, and released it here, being replicated and reposted to look for assistance by about 6 non-governmental organizations and religious organizations. All of them referring to that very article and try to raise funds to help the people who are dying in Ethiopia because of Oromo extremists. So that is how bad we have gone to, that is how low we have come to in today's very toxic political environment. But we have invited Mr. Jamal, please, do you comment on that?
All right, thank you, Dr. Barrow, and thank you also, Bob Bowman, for asking this question. Yes, we have invited international organizations as much as we could, and also intellectuals who we thought would share their knowledge and also would be part of the debate. One of the organizations we have invited was Genocide Watch. So we have even called by phone. Unfortunately, our invitation was somehow didn't get a positive answer. The claim was like a genocide that was organized by a single ethnic group. Doesn't interest me. And it is very sad that that happened. We would like to have them in the future too. So directly it went to the chairperson of the Genocide Watch, which was using the data that was really one-sided. The propaganda, which was also propagated against the Oromo for the whole of almost 2 years and a half. So others which we haven't invited were International Crisis Group. Hopefully they are here, I don't know. World Peace Foundation and Peace and Conflict Stories. And we have also invited the university where one of the alligators or the accusers of Oromo has some presentation on genocide in Ethiopia, who was also accusing the Oromos of conspiring to commit genocide against ethnic Amhara and people who follow the Orthodox Church. People like Dr. Barrow, you see over here how the fiction didn't work. So we have invited them, and we will continue to invite also in the future. The debate will not end with today's conference. We will continue debating because we want to clarify. We want to set the truth. We want to set people free by telling the truth. So the facts will be stated in the upcoming conferences too. Thank you for the question. And Dr. Workner, if you couldn't raise your hand because you are co-host, you will get the chance when.
Okay. Dr. Teso Banti.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Dr. Alamayo, I really appreciate it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. I just, from many of the things you mentioned about identity, my question is about identity. Yes, we all know that name of change has affected the whole the so-called Ethiopian history, and the distortion of history and destruction of culture. And my question to you as a sociologist, I'm struggling with now myself. the Ethiopian politicians, the Oromo politicians are so confused that there are people who say, we have to democratize Ethiopia. The others say, no, we have to have our own independent Oromia. And I assume this confusion comes from identity problem. My question to you, who is Ethiopia? Is it the name of a nation, a country, a place, mountain, or what? Do you see any village in the north, south, east by the name Ethiopia? To my knowledge, in Abyssinia, there is no town or village that is called Ethiopia, even though they are becoming the advocates for Ethiopia for centuries. So is it a myth? Is it a name? Who is represented by this, to which ethnic group nationality belongs to Ethiopia? If it is a nation, did somebody live whose name was Ethiopia and its ancestors? If not, why are our intellectuals suffering with this question? Am I Ethiopian?
Okay.
If I am Ethiopian, can you tell me scientifically, historically, anthropologically, whether Oromo, Tigray, Amara, or Gurage belong to this man, so-called Ethiopia? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Dr. Banti. This question is very interesting. Yes, if we see etymologically the origin of Ethiopia, as you know very well, it is your field of specialization. It comes from a Greek word. When the Greeks translated Bible to Greek, they translated Kush to Ethiopia. So if we see when Aristotle, Plato, Pythagoras, and the others came to Egypt to study philosophy, geometry, all the civilizational element of Black people, they didn't know south of Egypt who are living in that area. So they said, if we take these old maps, Ethiopia from Senegal to Red Sea, when the Arabs came and they named it Sudan. But the Abyssinian intriguers, when they expanded their empire, when they expanded by war conquest at the end of 19th century with the help of Europeans, they became the minority of new empire. So they called, borrowing this word from Greek, Ethiopia. So as you said, there is no Ethiopian nation. What is the meaning of nation? Nation must have its own territory, language, history. So there is no in Ethiopia, Ethiopian language, there is no Ethiopian language. Because of this, there is no a nation which calls itself Ethiopia. So this, the new created imperialist state, one of the genocidal colonialist imperialist state. As a student of sociology, I cannot speak without empirical facts. If we compare Algeria, French colonialism, German colonialism, Belgian colonialism, and the Habesha colonialism, the highest, the well-known colonial genocide in Africa was imperial German genocide of Namibia at that time, Southwest Africa. In that, when they are killing and expelling to the desert the Namas and the Hereros, they killed 74% of the population. Not only by killing, but by famine. Famine is an instrument of genocide. But what about Abyssinians? Let us take the written documents of eyewitnesses of the people who have been living in that area. Our population decreased by 50%. It is not written by Oromo. One is by French anthropologist and churchman. Second, the best friend of Menelik, Alexander Pulatovich. If we go to Kaffa, the population was reduced by 67%. Gimera, 94% were disappeared from the map of the world. So this is about the name. It is a false name to hide their imperial colonial ideology. So they wanted to say, we are Ethiopians. How can somebody become Ethiopia without existence of Ethiopia? There is no nation which calls itself Ethiopia. Second, those people who want to build democratic Ethiopia, it is logically illogic.
Okay, Prof. We have only 2 minutes and I see 4 hands up. So let's give everybody a chance.
Because the colonizers and the colonized people, they are enemies. Their language, their history is against each other. So it is a colonized mind which says, we will going to build a democratic Ethiopia. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bayan.
Thank you, Dr. Baruch. I just raised my hand for two reasons. One is I would like to thank Dr. Alamayo for his really comprehensive and very informative presentation on genocide. What do I take home from this presentation? I think my conclusion is this. Contrary to the Habesha's accusations of the Oromo for perpetrating genocide against other ethnic groups or groups, it is the Oromo that has been subjected to genocide and is still being subject to genocide since the conquest by Emperor Menelik. I think that all definitions of genocide, Alamayo elaborated, presented, forces one to come to that conclusion. 2 pointers. Cultural genocide. Since the conquest, there was going on a cultural genocide on the Oromo to change the Oromo identity, to kill the Oromo language, even to change the names of Oromo territories and geography. Most importantly, genocide of killing Oromo leadership and intelligentsia. These are very important examples that Oromo has been and is being subjected to genocide. How did we survive and how are we surviving up to now? I think it's only due to the strength of the Oromo nation and the limitation of our colonizers. Had they had the means and the might, probably Oromo has been already erased from the face of the world. So knowing this fact and still understanding that genocide is being perpetrated against us, Oromos, we have no choice but to stand and fight for our freedom and independence and secure the safety and security of our nation. Again, thank you, Alamayo, for the presentation. That's all I have for 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Tisho?
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Alamayo. I really appreciate a very broad knowledge that you gave us today. But I have a very straightforward question. That is, the other day we heard the Prime Minister of Ethiopia in Kenya saying he is planning to eliminate OLF. However, we know that millions of Oromos, almost 40 million
for everything we are aspiring
are in one way or another.
If we could eliminate
they share the values of OLF. Don't you think that he's proposing genocide against 40 to 60 million Oromos?
Okay. May I react?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay. It is hard to believe what this illegally occupying the place of Prime Minister saying in the doing. First of all, if we see legally, our organization, Oromo Liberation Front, is officially registered political organization in Ethiopia, recognized according to the constitution. How can a prime minister can say we will eliminate OLF? He is against the constitution of the country. Second, this is a political group. Eliminating political group is politicized, recognized according to the United Nations Rome Statutes Convention. We can say a lot of things, but what we have to do, according to my view, is collecting everything what these so-called imperial leaders on different nations in Ethiopia, they will going to face the court, they will going to be indicted, but we have to accumulate what they are doing. Look, for example, Guatemala's president in 1982-83, under his leadership, the government killed 1,700 people. He was convicted of genocide, disappearance, killing, and giving the copy for hyenas happening in Ethiopia. Raping is common. What if I didn't want to go in on what is going on in Ethiopia, because this topic will be presented by Professor Makuya, Professor Guluma, Professor Workine. So my aim is only a theoretical part. So we will discuss in 3 panels in detail what is going on and what we are going to do. Genocide is state action against the people. We are the people. We have to fight against genocide is the voice of the people, not the government. Governments are genocidal organization. If we study all this history of genocide. So we are a privileged group in Oromo society. Why? We had a chance to study, and then we are in a secure area. So we have to be the voice of our people to collect materials. What this government, the so-called government, illegitimate government in the view of Oromo people, because they are not elected. So let me say he is declaring war on Oromo as a nation, not who is not OLF. OLF is a program. It says liberating the nation from colonial rule. A normal Oromo or human being who is against liberation have a freedom to live, security. So he is saying, first condemning OLF is constitutionally crime. Second, OLF is Oromo nation. Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much, both for this great speaker and for the audience. The next session will be moderated by Dr. Mortisa Aga, and I would like to invite Dr. Musa to take over.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Our next panel, the title is Conquest, Genocide, and State Terrorism in the Making of Ethiopian Empire and the State. It is my pleasure, my honor to introduce to you the speaker of this panel, Professor Mokra Bulcha. He is a professor and has PhD in historical and political sociology. Professor Mokrea has received his PhD in sociology from Addis Ababa University in 1973 and PhD from the Department of Sociology at Uppsala University in 1988. This is Sweden. He served at various capacities in this university. He was a researcher, lecturer, and associate professor from 1989 to 2005. He was employed by Malaradan University in 2005 and served as a lecturer, director of studies in sociology, and professor of sociology, currently professor emeritus, associate at Nordic African Institute in Uppsala, and a member of its publication committee. Professor Mokrea published several books and dozens of journal articles, book chapters. The most recent book, Contours of Emergent. Dr. Alamayo, can you mute yourself, please? Dr. Alamayo Kumsa?
Yeah.
Can you unmute? Can you mute yourself? His most recent book, Contours of the Emergence of Ancient Oromo Nation, Dilemmas in Ethiopian Politics of States and Nation Building. He was a founder, publisher, and distributor of the Oromo Commentary Journal from 1990 to 1999. He was, which was distributed to individuals, institutions, and universities in many countries across the globe. Professor Mokrea received several scholarships and research funds from Uppsala University in Sweden. Professor Mokrea was a recipient of also award for outstanding contribution to scholarship on Oromo Society as founder and editor-in-chief of Oromo Commentary Journal. He was also the recipient of the OSA Lifetime Award in 2018. Professor Mokrea was a founding member of the Oromo Studies Association, OSA. He served OSA in different capacities. He had been OSA president, member of OSA board of directors for many years, chairperson of its board of directors for 2 years, members of the editorial board of the Journal of Oromo Studies, JOS. He has contributed scores of international conferences in Europe, North America, and Africa, acted as panel organizer and chairperson of sessions and keynote speaker on several occasions. He has been presenting papers at workshops and seminars organized by Oromo community organizations across Europe and North America since the early 1980s. Professor Mokrea worked tirelessly to promote Oromo cause. He has published dozens of debate articles on current Oromo and Ethiopian politics since the mid-1980s. He contributed to radio programs focused on the Horn of Africa, such as the Voice of America, Sweden Radio and TV, etc., on different occasions, and as well as TV channels and radio programs run by Oromo communities and other media outlets in many cities in Europe, North America, and Australia on such issues that concern political conflict, democracy, ethnicity, and culture. So without further ado, it's my honor again to introduce to you Professor Mokrea. The floor is yours, sir.
Oromo.